The truth is, I never thought the day would come where I would have to sit with myself and ask, where did I go wrong? I am Sheikh Hamdan, and what you are about to hear is not the story the world has written about me. It is not the version built from rumors, assumptions, or headlines. The one I have carried in silence for longer than anyone knows. The one that kept me awake at night long after the cameras were off and the palace was quiet. People look at my life and see power, they see wealth, they see a man who has everything. But what they don't see is the empty space that no amount of power can fill, because I lost something, something real, something I will never be able to replace no matter how many poems I write or how many sunrises I watch from my window. Let me take you back. Before the noise, before the misunderstandings, before everything fell apart, there was a time when my life felt genuinely balanced. My responsibilities were clear, my path was set, and within all of that structure, I had found something unexpected. A connection that felt different from everything else around me. She was not drawn to my title. She was not impressed by the palaces or the privileges. She saw something in me that most people never even looked for. And for the first time in a very long time, I felt seen. Not as a crown prince, not as Sheikh Mohammed's son, just as a man. A human being with feelings that had nowhere to go, that simplicity, that honesty between us. It became the most precious thing I owned. And I did not protect it the way I should have, but here is what people never understand about a life like mine. The pressure does not come all at once. It builds slowly, quietly. It starts with small decisions that seem harmless. A commitment here, a responsibility there. A duty you cannot refuse because of who you are and what your name carries. I was raised to put family first, to honor my father's words. I genuinely believed that I could handle all of it without losing what mattered most to me personally. That was the lie I told myself every single day. That I could be everything to everyone and still come home and be fully present for the one person who deserved my full attention. Then came the moment everything shifted. My father spoke to me, not with commands, not with force. He never needed to use force. His words carried a weight that no instruction ever could. He spoke about reconciliation, about family, about a bond that had been left unresolved for too long. A woman who had once been a significant part of my story. You do not simply say no, you carry it. You think about it, and eventually you act on it. I made the decision to travel to London, not because I was forced, but because in my heart I believed it was the right thing to do. What I did not calculate was the cost. When she found out, I watched her face change in a way I had never seen before. It was not the reaction of someone who was simply upset. It was the reaction of someone who suddenly saw something clearly that had been blurry before. A fear she had been quietly carrying finally had a shape, a name, a destination. We argued, and it was not a simple argument about misunderstanding. It was a collision of two worlds that had been trying to coexist for too long. She asked me questions I did not have easy answers to. She said things that stayed with me long after the room went silent. And when the silence finally came, it was heavier than anything that had been spoken out loud. That night she left. She went to her parents. And something inside me knew. This was not just space. This was a message. I did what I always do when the emotions become too large to speak directly. I wrote, I turned to poetry the way some men turn to prayer. I thought, if she read them, she would feel it. But fate has a strange sense of humor. Sheikha Shaker saw those words, and she believed they were for her. She responded with a video of her own. And within hours, something that was meant to be deeply private became a public spectacle that neither of us had the power to control any more. She watched all of it. Every video, every response. Every word exchanged in a space that was supposed to be mine alone. She felt like she was watching someone else live inside her relationship. The presence of Sheikh Shaker was not just a reminder of my past. Should ever feel like she is competing for the man she chose to stand beside. I understand that now. I understood it the moment it was already too late. I kept writing. I shared another poem on June 29th, 2022, this time with words that carried a different weight, a kind of hope. She had crossed into a place inside herself where words no longer had access. She had made a decision. She had decided that a love which made her feel invisible was not the love she deserved. And honestly, she was right. I had spent so much time trying to manage everything around me that I forgot to manage the most important thing. I do not regret honoring my father. I do not regret trying to bring peace to something unresolved. The assumptions I made about her strength, the belief that she was not someone who needed to wait. She was someone who deserved certainty. And I gave her confusion. I gave her questions when she needed answers. I gave her silence when she needed to hear my voice. She never asked for the palace. She never asked for the title or the attention that came with being connected to my name. All she ever asked for was me, fully, without division, without distraction, without the ghost of another chapter floating in the background of everything we tried to build together. Not because I did not want to, but because I did not know how to separate myself from everything else that I am. And by the time I started to figure it out, she was already gone. Even now I think about the small moments, the conversations over nothing, the quiet evenings that felt like the whole world had paused just for us. And I realized those moments were the real treasure. Not the grand gestures, not the poems, not the public declarations. It was the ordinary, unguarded moments between two. Those moments are gone now. And I have learned the hardest lesson a man can learn, that you do not realize what you have built until you are standing in the rubble of it. Do not share this for sympathy. I do not share this to rewrite history or to make myself look like. I share this because somewhere out there is someone who is making the same mistake I made. Someone who is choosing silence over conversation. Someone who is assuming the people they love will always be there tomorrow. Someone who believes that love is patient enough to survive neglect. It is not. Love requires presence. It requires honesty. It requires the courage to be vulnerable even when you are surrounded by people who expect you to be invincible. My name is Sheikh Hamdan. And the truth behind my broken marriage is simply this: I had something rare and real. And I let the noise of everything I was supposed to be drown out the voice of the one person I needed to listen to most. That is the truth. Not the drama, not the rumors, just a man who learned too late what it truly means to love someone the right way. If this story moved you in any way, you already know what to do. Stay close. There's much more to come.